Hello, this is Alex from the National Weather Service in Pocatello with your Southeast Idaho weather hazard briefing for Wednesday, August 21st. Taking a look at the main impacts for the next couple of days, record or near record high temperatures are once again forecast for today across the region, ahead of a cold front that's going to be approaching from the west. That cold front will move through the region tonight, and we'll talk a little bit more in detail regarding the frontal timing here in a bit, but that'll be mainly a dry cold front, but there is the chance of an isolated thunderstorm across the Salmon Chalice late this afternoon and overnight with that, and also even later tonight and into early Thursday morning across the Montana border region. And behind the front on Thursday, critical winds and near critical relative humidity is expected. And as we go even beyond that into the weekend, each day from Saturday, Sunday, and Monday has the potential for critical winds and relative humidity. And the confidence on the forecast details is medium to high this morning. Taking a look at the planning timeline here, you can see we've got heat listed for most areas and also the isolated thunderstorm chance across the central mountains and also, as we mentioned, the Montana border region, including the Island Park area. And that's going to be, we expect, late tonight into Thursday. The gusty winds area-wide on Thursday, and then not looking like too much in the way of impacts right now for Friday. But again, breezy winds and low relative humidity for the weekend and on into Monday. Taking a look at the satellite picture this morning, we'd see an area of low pressure just south of the Alaskan Panhandle. And that area of low pressure, it will move eastward through southern Canadian provinces over the next 24 to 48 hours. That will link up with some of this moisture here that you see across the eastern Pacific, and that will be streaming across southeast Idaho and the central Idaho mountains late tonight and Thursday. Taking a look at the 10-hour fuel moisture. 10-hour fuel moisture is low across all of the Great Basin and into portions of Idaho. And the ERCs this morning are above the 90th percentile across far southeast Idaho in these darker red colors, generally increasing across the board as a result of the dry and above average temperatures that we've had now for the past several days. Here's a look at the forecast wind speeds across the region, and this will give us an idea of the frontal timing in some of these darker greens and getting into the yellow colors here. That's indication of the stronger winds. So around 9 p.m. Wednesday, we can see the start of the stronger winds marks the location of the front. So by the time we get into 11 p.m., we see the front approaching Salmon from the northwest, approaching Mountain Home from the west, and you can watch the progression of that front as we go through the night tonight and into early Thursday morning. By the time we get to 2 a.m., the front is east of Salmon and Chalice at this point and is approaching the Magic Valley, and you can see that moving up through the Snake Plain. So we think by early Wednesday morning, just around sunrise, so 7 a.m. or so, the front should have passed into Wyoming by that time. Here's a look at the forecast radar, and backing this up into this evening, you can see just a couple of isolated showers and thunderstorms, potentially generally in the 4 p.m. to midnight time frame this evening. And then here is the band of light rain showers associated with the cold front. Most of this activity will be trailing the cold front, and generally not expecting wetting rains with this activity, except for maybe in an isolated area under a heavier cell, but most of you should not be seeing wetting rains with this activity, as it's most. Taking a look at the high temperatures for today, as mentioned, they're forecast to be near records. Just to list off the record highs for today, Pocatello the record high is 98. We're forecasting 97. Idaho Falls, the record high for today is 96. That is the forecast. Burley's record high is 98. We're forecasting 93. Stanley's record high is 90. We have a forecast of 87. And finally, Chalice, forecast for 86, and the record high is 98. So a couple of areas may approach records. On Tuesday, we saw record highs being tied at both Pocatello and Idaho Falls. Thursday, behind the cold front, temperatures fall roughly 10 degrees for high temperatures, and generally expected to be in this range through the weekend and early next week, although as we get into early next week, it looks like a warming trend will begin once again. Taking a look at the forecast wind gusts with wind direction for Thursday behind the cold front. So west to southwest winds in these light yellow colors in the 30 to 35 mile per hour range. We mentioned earlier Friday we weren't expecting any critical wind speeds, and here's a look at those for Friday. But by the time we get into Saturday, we see the winds pick back up again. Very similar to Thursday's values, maybe just a little bit less. And as we mentioned, those winds do continue through the weekend. But the strongest winds in the second half of the weekend shift a little bit farther south, focus mostly from the Arco Desert and point south across the southern Snake Plain and eastern Magic Valley. And once again, breezy area wide for Monday. As we get into early next week, particularly into Tuesday and Wednesday, as that ridge of high pressure builds in, at least at this time, winds are forecast to become lighter. And finally, look at the minimum relative humidity values. They are below critical values for most lower elevation areas today. Tomorrow, behind the cold front, the critical minimum relative humidity values mostly across the Arco Desert over a much smaller area than what we've been seeing over the past few days. But by the time we get into Friday and through the weekend, we see the area of critical minimum relative humidity values expanding once again. So some potential red flag conditions from Friday to the weekend, and we'll monitor that trend over the next couple of days. So again, to recap, record or near record high temperatures forecast for today. We have a mainly dry cold front forecast to move through the region tonight, which may spark off an isolated thunderstorm over the Salmon Chalice, generally from 4 p.m. to 12 a.m. Breezy to windy conditions Thursday, and then again Friday through the weekend. That concludes the briefing for today. If you have any comments, questions, or feedback, we welcome those to the phone number or email address you see there. Thank you.